Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Secrets to Real Estate Investing. Today we have one of our youngest guests ever, which I'm really excited about. This guy is just amazing me that he's already got a couple of rentals going, and I'm really excited for him to share his strategy and speak to those of you that are the younger crowd, those of you that could be my kids. Anyway, with that, welcome to the show, Scott Trench.
Oh, thank you, Holly. It's great to be here.
Thanks so much for coming on the show. Why don't you start out by giving us your background and what you've done and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. So I graduated college from Vanderbilt University in 2013, and then I went on a little backpacking tour and spent all the money I had ever made throughout my life to that point in Europe, and then started in the real world in about August of 2013. And it took me about 3 months at my first job to figure out, hey, I don't want to be in a cubicle for the rest of my life, crunching spreadsheets to make some other guy wealthy. And I had the good luck of that job was actually fairly easy for me, and I had a little bit of downtime. So I would do research and try to improve myself and kind of learn more about financial concepts. And through this kind of well-intentioned effort to improve my career skills, I stumbled upon the concept of financial freedom. And so my first step on the financial freedom journey was actually not real estate investing, but rather I stumbled across a little blog called Mr. Money Mustache, which I guess is not so little anymore and probably wasn't so little at the time. Mr. Money Mustache introduced me to the concept of financial freedom, which is obviously where you have enough assets and passive cash flow to cover your lifestyle expenses without the need for wage-paying work. And his approach is through frugality. So I completely embraced this mindset to escape the need for, again, wage-paying work as early as I possibly could. And after a year or so, I had accumulated a good $20,000, $25,000 through some hard work, frugality, and a couple of little side hustles like driving for Uber. And then I was like, what do I do with this? And a lot of, the financial community is obviously, what's the right word here? They disagree on what the right way to invest your first amount of savings are. But obviously, I stumbled upon real estate investing at a little site called Bigger Pockets. Started listening to the podcasts, networking with local investors in the community, and decided, hey, this is the right move for me. I'm going to go ahead and buy my first property, and it's going to be a house hack. So 1 year later, 2014, I closed on a duplex, moved into one half of it, rented out the other half, and began living for free. I guess I'll give you some specific numbers on that duplex. I bought the thing for $240,000. I put down $12,000, so 5%, using an FHA loan. Moved into half of it, fixed it up. I think I closed on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I had gone back to Maryland to visit my parents. I actually did a out-of-state closing on the property. Didn't see it until the Monday that I moved back. Well, didn't move in the Monday after I moved back. And yeah, it took me about 2 or 3 months to fix the place up. I put a roommate in my half and tenants in the other side. And between the roommate paid $550 and the tenants paid $1,150 for $1,700 in total rent. And then my mortgage was $1,550. So I was clearing $150 a month, or basically breaking even after utilities and all, and maintenance and all that. And that was great. My savings rate increased by $600, $700 a month because I wasn't paying rent anymore. And that's how I got into the game.
That's awesome. And I have to just commend you. I mean, what a brilliant plan, and it all worked the way it was supposed to. Mm-hmm. I got to share my little initial house hack to show where it didn't go so great, but it was all market timing. So, I mean, your market timing was great, but I, fresh out of college is like, I don't want to just throw all this money away in rent. I want to get a piece of the action. So at age 21, I'd saved some money. I think I'd only saved 15 grand, but I was only making 25 grand right out of college back in the last century. But anyway, I bought a 3-bedroom condo and put roommates in. So I was bringing $700 a month of income, and my mortgage was probably $1,400, but I had some tax savings. Yeah, it wasn't so pretty back in 1990 when I did it, but it kind of all turned south on me a few years later when I had moved on to the next place, and then the whole housing market kind of turned upside down. The place went from a value of $135 that I paid for it down to $75, and I ended up giving it back to the bank because I couldn't even keep it rented.
Oh
So
man.
beware and be careful and be smart, kids. But Scott did it the right way. Awesome. So tell us, are you still living in that place or did you do something different?
Nope. So I actually was able to move out after about 15 months and install some tenants in the unit that I vacated. Since then, over the last few years, the rents have increased a little bit. So now I'm collecting $1,300 per side. And I was able to refinance the property because I added some value. And of course, the market helped me out with some equity. With that refinance, my mortgage payment dropped from 1550 to 1400. So I'm now collecting about $2,600 a month on a $1,400 mortgage on that property, and I'm doing it all over again. Another house hack. So I live in the basement of this of the bottom unit of this duplex, and rent out the top. Top produces $1,500 in rent, and the mortgage is $2,000. And through that, combined with the other cash flow I've been getting, combined with progress in my career and all that, I've also been able to save up enough to buy a quadplex, which I closed on in July of this year.
Awesome. So that's going to be your third property?
Third property, yep.
Awesome. And then is that fully leased up or are you fixing it up or where are you at with that?
So when I bought it, it had full occupancy, but the landlord had just evicted one. So I guess there's three out of 4 units were rented, and so I fixed up the other place, put about $5,000 into that, and basically redid the whole thing. Got new tenants in there, and the other units are renting for $800 a month. This unit's renting for $925 after about $5,000 of work. So.
Nice.
I'm hoping to bring up the rents for all of the units over the course of the next year to that range and increase my cash flow by about $500
so
a month.
The first 2 properties, well, the first one I know you did an FHA loan with quite a low down payment. That's awesome. Because normally, for those of you that are kind of new to the real estate investing game, at least in Southern California, they require you to put at least 20% down if it's an investment property. You've got to have more skin in the game. How was your second property? Did you also do that as an owner-occupied
Yes.
FHA?
Yep.
So low down payment again. That is the beauty of FHA. Their mortgage insurance is a bit painful, but where else can you get in with such a low down, especially on investment property, huh?
Yeah, I think that the key, the key to me for house hacking is first of all, I didn't have any money when I started. So how am I going to get, my choice was either I put down 5% or I wait another 4 years until I'm able to save up $60,000 to put down on that same property. The other big advantage is leverage. When I put down 5%, I'm leveraged 19 or 20, 19 to 1, 20 to 1, 19 to 1. So every point of appreciation that I get on the property is actually a 20% ROI on my down payment. So it's an enormous benefit to house hacking there. Now, of course, the flip side of leverage is risk, right? You saw that with your property.
Yeah.
However, one thing that a house hacker can do to avoid that is if the rents that you're getting in most practical scenarios that you can kind of conceive of will cover the cost of that mortgage, or at least enough of that mortgage to where you're far better off than you would be as a renter or a homeowner in your same area, you can mitigate that risk to a large degree. And the worst case for me that I figured with my first house hack and the current one is, okay, great. Market crashes. I got to stay there a few more years than planned, and before I can buy the next house hack.
Okay. So your third property, you're not living in that one, right?
Nope.
So that one, how did you buy that one?
That one, I have a secret to how I accumulated all that cash, which is I saved it up 1 month at a time for several years in a row and plopped down a 25% down payment with a partner. So I put down, close to $50,000 as just part of the deal of hustling and working hard and saving for a long time.
Awesome. I just think that you are just so worlds ahead of the average 20-something-year-old. That's so awesome. And you've used the term house hack a couple times. So why don't you go ahead and define that? I know that's commonly used on Bigger Pockets, but in case someone hasn't heard that, go ahead and define what a house hack is.
Sure. So the house hack is kind of broad term where it's just any any form of moving into an investment property, a property that you intend to be part of your investment portfolio at some point in the future, and using the advantages of owner occupancy to help you expedite your real estate portfolio. So my case is, I think, is a good example. I bought a duplex. That duplex benefited me immediately by removing my rental obligations because my tenants were able to pay down that rent. And it was it was designed, that purchase was designed, my lifestyle was designed to add that to my real estate portfolio down the line. And I think that this is perhaps the single biggest step that a full-time worker can take to expedite themselves toward financial freedom. Housing expenses are about 33% of the typical American's household budget. So if you can wipe that out entirely, you're already saving a third of your salary. Or at least you're spending a third less than everybody else that you know, and you are well on your way to achieving financial freedom.
Well put. I can't wait for my soon-to-be graduating from college son to hear this so that he can put it in action. Although it is tough depending on what market you're in. I'm thinking might be pretty darn near impossible to do like in downtown LA where he's considering working. And we haven't even said where you live. So what city do you live in?
So I live in Denver, Colorado. Definitely not downtown LA, San Francisco, or New York, but a fairly expensive city.
Right.
And
so do you mind sharing, I don't know if you did share the purchase prices. You did the first one was $240,000, right?
Sure. The second one was $360,000. The mortgage is $2,000, and the upstairs rents for $1,500. Right. I suppose I could get about $1,200 for the basement unit. So okay. Not as much cash flow as the first property I bought, but I enjoy living there. So I may not move for a little bit longer since I enjoy it. Third property, number 3, I purchased for $355,000. I put down 25% with that partner. And that property produced $3,200. My estimate was $3,200 a month in rent, but I've been able to get $3,325 with this new tenant. And I expect to be able to bump that up to $37,000 by the end of next year.
So I have a follow-on question here. The second place you bought was $360,000. The third place you bought was $355,000, and it's 4 units instead of 2.
Yep.
So what is different? Are they in different areas? And would you live in the fourplex, or is that one like a lower grade? We haven't even talked about grades of housing yet, but tell us about that.
So the first 2 properties that I've bought, the ones I've lived in, I were in areas of the market that I was exactly, like I interviewed investors and I identified target parts of the market. They were exactly in the middle of my strike zone in terms of where I wanted to be and where I wanted the property to be. They're not necessarily the places I would have chosen to live if I had unlimited means and no need to pursue financial freedom, but they were in places that I expected to do well. And I've reaped that reward. And, you can model out all you want, appreciation routes and all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is you have to go and see for yourself and look at what is happening and see, hey, 10 blocks south, there's $1 million house. 9 blocks south, there's a $900,000 house. 8, there's 800, and so on and so forth. This $300,000 house is in the path of progress. I see the developments going on nearby. I see the investment from the city. I see the light rail coming in. Those are the types of decisions I made with those properties. With this quadplex, I was a little bit more open. The market's been a little tougher lately. And I was able to get this deal off market. It is not in my strike zone in terms of the area that I think is going to appreciate rapidly over the next few years. But the fact that I'm able to get $3,200 a month in rent on a $1,500 mortgage with opportunities to improve that cash flow, and the property is only about a 10-minute drive from where I currently live, all factored into that decision and made this a strong purchase for me, even though it's not in the area that I think has the best prospects in town. But to answer your question directly, no, this is not one that I want to live in currently.
Well, that's awesome that it's only 10 minutes away. My rentals are at a minimum an hour away and as far as 2 hours away for me because I live in such an expensive area. It doesn't make sense remotely. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome, 10 minutes away. And if people were to look at the 1% rule that we frequently hear out there, where you want to get 1% of your rents, 1% of the purchase price in monthly rents, you're real close with $3,200 per month in rent on a $355,000 purchase. I mean, that's pretty dang close, especially for, I mean, I think your market's been getting tougher to find the 1% rule also, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and I'm pretty patient when it comes to these investments. I plan it. I'm probably going to start looking again for my next property in about February of next year. And I will wait a month, 6 months, a year, however long it takes to find a great deal. And the way I found this property is I looked at every single deal. There's no duplexes that come on the market in Denver. Well, there's hundreds that have sold in the last 180 days. Same with triplexes and quads. I just look at every single one that comes on the market, every single one that sells, and look at the timeline. And then the next step I do, so I know what that allows me to do is that tells me, I know when I see a deal. I know, hey, it's time to drop everything, take off work, and go and drive past this property and take a look and make an offer. So I actually took my girlfriend to Cancun for a little weekend getaway. And then I came back and I got back to my home and popped out my computer at 5:00 in the afternoon. And an agent, by the way, I also tell every single person I come across when I'm looking for properties exactly what I'm looking for, where my targets are, what my price range is, my financial capabilities, the fact that I'm serious, that I'm ready to go. And this agent had sent me along. He said, "Hey, I got an off-market deal for you. This guy's trying to sell. I think there's going to be some management issues with the property, but I thought it would be up your alley." He sent that at 4:30. I got off the plane, got back to my desk at 5, drove by at 5:15, placed an offer by 8:00 that night. Sight unseen. And that's, I think, what you have to do in order to find these kind of needles in the haystack. I haven't heard of another investment property going for less than $100,000 per unit within the city limits of Denver in the last year or two.
Wow, good for you, doing your homework and getting rewarded. Now, I mean, not the good deals don't usually just fall from the sky with a bow on them saying, with the angels from heaven saying, going, "Oh, here is your wonderful deal." You have to work hard for them. You've got to do your due diligence, which you certainly did put in the time. So good for you. You earned it.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, there have definitely been a little bit more management headaches with this one because I inherited 3 of the 4 tenants. But and I made a brief. I promised a washer dryer unit to my tenants, and that's proving to be not as practical as I was hoping. So I'm gonna have to spend an extra $1,000 or $2,000 to fulfill that promise. But definitely some learning mistakes on this one. But still, I think overall a really good deal.
Now, what do you mean by you promised a washer dryer unit? There wasn't hookups for it, and so that's where it's going to cost you some extra?
Yes, I didn't promise the washer dryer. They said, "We want to move in, but we want washer dryer hookups. Was that an option?" And I said, "Sure, you sign a lease at this rate, we'll get you washer dryer hookups." Problem is the wall I wanted to install them on, and this is a rookie mistake that I made, is a exterior wall. So in Denver, that will freeze in the winter. So I have to build an insulated partition sticking out from the wall and then insulate it and then put the washer dryer hookups in there. And that's going to cost me a little bit of money. But I'm going to keep my word to my tenants and not screw them over. So it's going to might take me a week or two and a couple $1,000. So whoopsies.
Yeah. Oh, well,
Wouldn't
we
have promised
all
that
make
if I didn't know.
mistakes. It's not, I love the Jim Rohn quote, and I say it often. It's not win or lose, it's win or learn. So I'm still learning. I mean, last night I got a call from one tenant telling me another tenant was outside her window with a baseball bat threatening her. I'm like, okay, how do I deal with this one? Like, of course, call the cops. But I never had that one before in my almost 10 years of being a landlord. I usually get pretty good tenants, but you never know. Off for meds. That's what happened. So all kinds of fun stuff.
One of the pieces of advice I have for that is there's always a guy in your market where you're investing that loves it. I enjoy real estate, but more than real estate, I enjoy the income and the wealth that it produces. There are some folks out there that love the game of being a landlord and investing in real estate. There's a guy in Denver that I know. I talk to him about real estate probably once a month just to kind of hang out and chat and learn from him. His idea, he was like, "You want to have a good time?
Oh no!
Go to eviction court on Wednesday morning, and you'll see some great stuff from the landlords and tenants. You'll learn a lot." And he said it with the biggest smile on his face, and I was like, "This is the guy I want to go to when I'm having an issue because there's no way.
He's seen it all, probably.
Nobody's going to be better than that guy at dealing with these kinds of issues." He's just going to have a world of experience because he loves it. And you got to go make friends with that kind of person for when you have those emergencies. That paid off because when I was doing a repair on one of my properties, I was a rookie and had turned off the heat because I wanted to save money. Big mistake. Never turn off the heat. Well, pipe froze. When I turned the heat back on to go work at the property, that's the sound of gushing water for everyone listening. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? I call up this guy. He's like, okay, the water shutoff valve is going to be in the crawl space. Crawl under it, turn right, turn left. He'd never been to my property, but and it'll be right there. Turn it off, call this number. This plumber will be there in a few hours and he'll fix your problem and you'll be good to go. And I was like, that kind of relationship will save you if you are a new investor trying to get started in this game. There's no education you can do to prepare for unexpected problems besides having friends that know what they're doing.
That is awesome. What a great lesson for people to learn to, not just be like a time and energy sucker of those experienced landlords and experienced investors, be nice, buy them lunch. And a lot of them do love the sport of real estate investing and landlording. And they love when they have an audience to hear their stories or someone to go to eviction court with. You know what I think one of the best opportunities at eviction court is to go offer to buy those beaten down landlords to buy their properties from them for the people that are not into the whole game. They're like, oh, shoot me now. Save me from these tenants, So maybe it would be worth your while to go hang out there.
Could be, yeah.
Have a flyer or a card or something. Hey, are you tired of this? I'll take it off your hands. Get
Maybe
some nice seller
that.
Financing, subject to, get all that worked in.
Yeah, maybe I'll try that in February when I'm about to buy my next one.
Yeah. Well, then you wouldn't even need to wait. You wouldn't need a down payment if you can get someone real desperate that lets you, take over and put a little down payment. Just food for thought,
Fair enough. One of the things for me is I'm cautiously optimistic about the market. I am afraid to stay out of the market because I think that it could continue to go up, even though people think it's topping out. So I obviously just closed in July, but I'm also afraid to buy too much and overextend. So I'm trying to stay consistent, buy a property that's reasonably within my means every year in terms of my cash position and financial capabilities.
Very smart. And one difference between you and some investors is that your mortgage is well covered by your rents. So when if your rents were to go down, you still have a lot of coverage and you're in it for the long haul. You're not looking to sell out as soon as we're peaked out. So then you're not just going to cash out and sell everything, right? I mean, you're in this for the long term, right?
Yeah. So, I'll address both those comments. The cash flow covering the mortgage is fundamental to my decision-making. I would not even consider buying real estate if the mortgage covered, if my rent was $2,000 and my mortgage is $1,800, not even close, not even going to consider it. I'm looking for at least $1,000 to $1,500 coverage over my mortgage, depending on the size of the property, in order to believe that I have a good chance of staying alive in the next market crash, going above bankruptcy. So that's fundamental to my decision making. And I don't even look at properties that wouldn't cover that. What was the second thing you said after after the cash flow?
That you're in it for the long haul.
Yes. So fundamental to my real estate strategy as well is this concept that I believe that Denver real estate in my local market is going to appreciate over the course of the next 30 years at a greater rate than inflation. And I believe strongly in the prospects of the city. I'm invested in this city, and I think that people like moving here. So maybe I'm buying at the peak or the bottom of the market right now. I have no idea. But I believe in 30 years that those bumps will be irrelevant, and I'll be looking back and being very happy with my decision to be invested here in this market.
Amen, brother. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do for a day job?
Awesome. So for a day job, I work at biggerpockets.com, which is a site that perhaps many of your listeners will be familiar with. We help, the way I like to describe it is we help middle-class earners or upper middle-class earners achieve financial freedom through real estate investing. And there's a lot of different paths towards that. There's a lot of different strategies that work in different markets. People have made money in every strategy. So if anyone tells you this doesn't work, probably does. And if anyone tells you that this does work, It may not for you, depending on your conditions. So what we offer people is we collect perspectives from real estate investors that are smart all over the country in all different disciplines, and allow those perspectives to be juxtaposed against one another. And I think that really improves your odds of achieving investment success. As far as me, what I do is I run the financials there. I do ad sales, and I produce a lot of content for my audience, which I believe is the folks that are willing to make some lifestyle changes and sacrifices in order to pursue financial freedom, such as like house hacking, biking to work, that kind of stuff. And I've produced a bunch of blog posts and a book.
Yeah, tell us about your book. What's it called?
My book is called Set for Life, and the purpose of the book is to help someone starting with a median income or higher, around a median income, 40K or more a year, and little to no assets outside their home equity or retirement accounts, and to take that person and put them into a position where they have hundreds of thousands of dollars in assets and thousands of dollars per month in passive cash flow within 3 to 5 years. And the way we do that is we have 3 steps in the book. Step 1 is accumulating that first $25,000 in assets, or what I like to call a year of financial runway. So if you have the math is this: if you can spend $2,000 per month, you're going to save a lot of money per month, and you're only going to need $25,000 to last a year without work. The more you spend, the less you're going to accumulate per month, and the more you're going to need to sustain that financial runway. So whatever that number is there, but the goal is to get around $2,000 per month, which I believe is achievable for a lot of single millennials. Next step, going from $25,000 to $100,000 in net worth. Once while continuing to live that low-cost lifestyle, you're going to exploit the advantages that come with having a year of financial runway and low expenses. Namely, you're going to do 2 things. One is house hack, which completely eliminates housing expense and therefore extends your financial runway dramatically, because you now have wiped out the largest expense in your life. And 2, you're going to be able to, if you choose and if you have the stomach for it, move away from a wage-paying job into a job that rewards performance. And most of the time, if you want to earn more money, not all the time, but often, those opportunities are going to come at the expense of a base salary. I believe you're a real estate agent, right?
Among other things, but yes.
What's your base salary for being a real estate agent?
0.
What's your income potential?
0. Unlimited.
Yeah. So when you by going down a path like that, you can potentially earn a lot more. That's an unacceptable. Let's say that you make $50,000 a year and you spend $45,000 a year, and you have $5,000 in the bank. You cannot become a real estate agent. You won't last, right?
Nope. Not at all.
You'll spend your whole savings in a month or 2 and be done. But if you have $25,000 in the bank and spend $2,000 a month, that's a much less scary proposition, and you have a really good shot at increasing your income to $100,000, $200,000, $250,000 a year or more. So that's how you kind of, between the house hacking and pursuing an opportunity that actually has a potential to reward you, that's how you can help expedite that path to $100,000. Once you have $100,000, it's really time to begin thinking about investing and how to deploy your capital. And the reason it's not something to ignore in the earlier stages, but it's just not as important. If you have $10,000 and you achieve a 10% annual return, great. You have $1,000. That's not going to change your life. That's not going to do anything differently for you. But if you're able to take $100,000 and achieve a 10% return a year, or around a 1% return a month, that's $1,000 a month, a little less than $1,000 a month. But that can actually make a difference in your life. And so now it's time to kind of develop an investing strategy and build and invest heavily in the asset class that you believe has the best shot at giving you financial freedom, given the amount of work you want to put in and your risk tolerance. And you go from there.
Love it. I just love how much you figured out at such a young age. Wish I'd figured that much out back at your age. Awesome. My hat's off to you. Well, Scott has generously offered for our free download this week the introduction to his book. So you guys can go and download that at hardhatholly.com/75, because we're episode number 75. And you can also get that by texting to our text number 38470. That's 38470, and you text hard hat. Squeeze it together, no spaces, as if it were one word, hard hat, to the number 38470, and you can get this download and all our past downloads as well. Well, Scott, give us you've had great advice throughout the whole show, and you're such an inspiration to the young and the not so young, but kind of what's your final advice that you'd like to give as we sign off here?
My advice would be to understand what makes you happy and eliminate the things that could potentially distract from that. So for me, what makes me happy is a Saturday afternoon playing some rugby with my rugby club. I'm a rugger. Grabbing some drinks with my friends, hanging out with my girlfriend. Those things don't cost very much money, and I'm able to achieve that regardless of where I live, what I drive, and all that other stuff. Maybe it's different for you, but if you can eliminate the expenses that you have to then work for your whole life to fund these things that aren't actually making you happy, you're going to be a lot better off if you can eliminate those and use the savings to divert more of your time to the things you actually love doing.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, with that, guys, if this doesn't inspire you, I don't know what can and will. I mean, Scott, you're awesome. Appreciate you taking time out of your personal time, because I know you're off the clock there at Bigger Pockets. So thanks so much for sharing. What a great inspiration you are. You guys go out and get his book. Where do they get your book? I'm assuming at biggerpockets.com is the best place.
Yeah, you can get it at biggerpockets.com/setforlife, or you can buy it on Amazon, Audible, or Kindle, or Barnes & Noble, or wherever you want.
Great title, Set for Life. Who wouldn't want that? And if people want to reach you, how do they reach you?
Check me out on biggerpockets.com. I'm very responsive. You can send me a message there. And I think my email is also on my profile on Bigger Pockets. Just go to biggerpockets.com and search Scott Trench in the search bar.
Yeah, Bigger Pockets is a great website. If you guys haven't been there, go check it out right now. Well, with that, thank you so much. And you guys get out there, take some action, and make it happen. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Hey there, thanks for watching the video. Make sure you like it and click subscribe to get notified of more videos. And you can go to hardhatholly.com for a free download on secrets to finding great deals.